Good evening, everyone, and thank you once again for tuning in to the American Artist Professional League Thursday 5 o'clock club. I'm John Bandish, one of the board of directors, and I'm here again responsible for doing the social media accounts. So love seeing everybody's work, love seeing everybody's stuff, and we have one of as soon as my phone decides to allow that to work, we're hitting accept. One of these days, I'll actually get it correct the first time. And hey, there we go. I got it right the first time.
All right.
Hi. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good morning. Actually, I don't know where you're based out of, Kathleen. We haven't actually met in person.
No, we haven't met in person yet. I'm in New Britain, Connecticut.
Oh, so you're East Coaster too. So good evening to you.
Thanks. You too.
Well, welcome to the Thursday 5 o'clock Instagram interview. It's really nice to finally be able to put a face and a name to an email, so we're not just trading all emails and board meetings and stuff. So pretty cool, though, that we all get to be at different parts of the U.S. and we can all interact together in this group. I still think that's wild that social media lets us do things like that and like this.
Yeah, I think that's great too. And I met Aki Kano, our president, for in person this afternoon, because I brought my work over to the show at the Howland Cultural Center in Beacon, New York. And she said, I feel like I know you. And I said, me too. I said, so Zoom works in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I think what's like, you can read an email or a text message or something like that, or even a phone call, you can hear someone's voice. But once you put like a face, you can see expressions, you can hear those little nuances that make us individuals. Those are the things that start to connect us to one another. So, this is a platform, something like this is fantastic, so here we are.
Yeah.
And there's a great plug there for everybody tuning in. This Sunday is the opening reception for our Realism on the Hudson show up in Beacon, New York, the Howland Cultural Center. If you're in the New York area, it is a fantastic show. Kathleen could tell us because she's got a firsthand account. She was there. Any sneak peeks that you want to give to people that are tuning in right now?
The work is amazing, and the building that it's in is fabulous. Old building, just kept its original character.
Yeah, those are the best. I'm fortunate enough in my artistic journey I'm from Philly. So there's a ton of museums and galleries that are in those old homes or estates of millionaires from yesteryear, thinking of like Woodmere Art Museum in the Chestnut Hill part of the city, where the very world famous Barnes, when it was at its old location. And even now that it's at the new location, they've done their best to make it look like the old location setting. So those old buildings, they just give some kind of extra flavor almost, to the rest of the art that's there. So
yeah, they really do. It's very nicely set up. It's a beautiful spot to be exhibiting all that work, and the lighting is fantastic. And I just think when it's up, it wasn't hung up, but the work is going up, and the venue I can't wait to see it on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Now, we're also going to have a special Instagram Live on Sunday at 2 o'clock. We're going to log on, and we're going to have a live stream coming from the show. So if you can't actually make it up to New York, like some of us who have an 8-month-old at home, just in the other part of our house, and I can't make it up there, you can tune into that. We're going to give you, we're going to talk to some of the other board members. And really quickly, I'll just continue to plug this Instagram Live series. If you're tuning in, I've had a ton of people email. I'm getting back to all of you. I had way more people reach out once we got this on the website that have reached out than I thought was going to happen. I thought I was going to have to be messaging people. I can tell you that as of just a few minutes ago, I've already filled up September. So it's great. Can't wait to meet everybody. We're going to meet more board members. That's kind of what this all started was people saying people don't know who the board members are. And it was like, okay, well, let's do something where it's, this is free. This is just us spending a few moments of our Thursday evening together, and we get to talk to one another, and we're new to the board, so we get to meet one another and then talk to one another. So I guess we'll just start there. What made you want to join the American Artist Professional League and then further the board of directors?
Well, the first thing that really interested me, of course, was that it promotes realism, and it's a national organization. And I knew a long time ago that I would be in great company, that the work that was being brought to the exhibits by the artists was just phenomenal. And the history too, the history of the Selma Gundy Club and the history of the organization and the things that they've done for artists. That was really exciting for me. So I joined quite a long time ago, and now I'm on the board, and I'm excited about all the new things that are being done for the artist members. And I just think it's got a lot of vibrance and life to the organization now.
Yeah, I would agree. That's one of the reasons why I joined. I wanted to be in groups of like-minded, I'll say at least like-minded artists. It doesn't necessarily have to be like painters. I mean, because there's some fantastic color pencil artists, sculptors. But I think all of us centering around the appreciation of realism, because I think at some point in all of our artistic journeys, whether you've been doing this 5 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, I think all of us that are interested in realism have experienced from a time or two this sort of negative feedback of that's not interesting work, or we don't do that here. To me, it was kind of like, well, if we all band together, we're stronger in numbers, right? So
Yep.
I was really happy to be a part of it. And, my journey is I've only been a member of the AAPL now for, I think, about 4 or 5 years. I forget exactly how long, but shorter than some other people. And all I did was reach out in the email blast. So to anybody listening out there, especially younger people, best way to get involved, just reach out when you see an email come through from a group and they say, hey, we need volunteers, just start volunteering your time, because you never know what it leads to. So tip of the day.
That's true. It's so true.
So you talk a little bit about your artistic journey. Have you always been an artist? Have you been like some of the rest of us, or you started drawing and painting seemingly right out of the womb? We lost some audio on you here. I'm not hearing you. Do you hear yourself? Do you hear me? I don't know if it's my phone or your phone. Well, anyway, so as we're just trying to figure out some technical difficulties, folks, you just have to remember that most of us are on the older end of the spectrum. We're not exactly all tech-savvy people. Most of us kind of know just enough how to do things with our cell phones or laptops. So again, I'm going to continue to plug the show while we're figuring this out. The show opens this Sunday in Beacon, New York at the Howland Cultural Center. It's the Realism on the Hudson. There's a ton of fantastic works there. I'm going to start posting them actually tonight. After all of this, I would have had some things posted earlier, but we didn't get that far. Again, I have an 8-month-old at home, so somebody else dictates my schedule. So we'll be posting images of those. Oh, we can hear you now. We got you back.
Okay. I charged my phone. Trust me, I charged my phone, but it was giving me a low battery warning, and I figured I needed to plug in.
Well, that's okay. We're here. We got you. So we started talking about just asking you about your artistic journey. Okay, some of us feel like my mom swears I had a paintbrush coming right out of the womb. So
yeah, no, I'm not. I don't think that was quite true for me. But I can remember back at least to elementary school where I was doing a lot of artwork and giving it as gifts as a kid and that sort of thing, and really enjoying it. Pen and ink and pencil were probably my first medium, and then photography when I was in high school, and I started painting professionally maybe 25 years ago or something.
okay.
So I
in 25 years, you've definitely watched the trends kind of come and go. And then, is there any advice you can give to, let's say someone who's maybe in their teenage years or early 20s who were trying to figure out, I want to do this. How do I do it?
It's about networking. I really believe that that's very important. Definitely in education. I'm also an educator, but the networking, just getting to know people and getting your name out there is so important when you're an artist.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think one of the things for me, at least when I realized it doesn't matter who you know, it's who knows you. And that just means you have to get out there and pound the pavement. I can hear my dad's voice, get out there, kid, and go pound the pavement, go make it happen. So if you're out there, you're younger, you're listening to this possibly either live here or you're going to watch this maybe a little later on. You know, listen, again, easiest thing to do, volunteer your time. There's always time to give. If you don't think you have time, wait till you have a kid, and then you realize you really don't have time. I've learned that the very first hand in the last 8 months of my life. So, so you've been painting now professionally for 25 years. Talk about some of the places where you studied at, or some of the people that you have studied with. Is there anybody that stands out in your mind that was just the most influential, or a place maybe?
Uh, and actually, you know, I did not go to a formal art school. I studied for 4 years with a mentor, and his name was James Stiegel. He trained at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, and he was a conservator, I think, at the Metropolitan in New York for a while, or he apprenticed there. And then he went on to be the conservator at the Kimball Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. And I spent 4 years learning from him. And of course, he really launched my skill set. And it, you know, that was quite a while ago. That was at the very beginning. So, and then from there, I've studied on my own. The Hudson River School painters are a very big influence for me.
No, we're talking the same speed right there.
Yeah. And
Frederick Church, Thomas Cole,
yes.
Just to name some of the few that everybody knows. But, you know, some of the other ones for me, there's a couple of the Jersey Shore painters that were in the sort of, I guess, second round of Hudson River School painters. They're very big for me. Their compositions to this day are, you know, I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah. And I have an odd mix, though, you know, because I really like Maxfield Parrish. And I also went back and studied some of the French landscape painters, and Jean-Baptiste Camille Corot was one of my favorites.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I also like Asian landscapes, ancient Asian art, their landscapes. Just the way they compose things, it's so different, and I really enjoy it.
You'd fit right in with a lot of the La Belle Époque in France in the sort of the 1860s and 1880s then.
Yeah.
For some people that may not know, talking about being educated by PAFA artists, PAFA is the oldest art school and art museum in the U.S. They have a great atelier program. I mean, I'm a Philly guy. I actually was accepted to their grad program for a short while before I backed out for various reasons or whatever, but it's a great education base that you get with that. And then to be able to train one-on-one with somebody who is from that atelier is really fantastic. So I'm kind of jealous. I wish I had taken classes with a few people that were PAFA trained, and I have some friends that are PAFA oriented, so it's pretty neat. So talking then kind of about you know, artists and who you learn from, and then, you know, there's always an influence that you take from somebody. I can think back to certain professors I had in undergrad, or other people I studied with along the way. You end up finding yourself sort of either interested in possibly either a trend or something that grabs your interest. We talked about the Hudson River School. Is there any kind of trend or even just like, you know, against any kind of trend that you've had in your career that kind of sticks out in your mind?
Well, one thing I did to follow the Hudson River School path was I don't put the human presence in a lot of my landscapes. Some of them have architecture in them, but most of them, I let the viewer be alone with nature. So I have kind of followed their footsteps in that way. And along with that era in history, I read a lot of Thoreau, Emerson, you know, all the transcendentalists and everything. So, you know,
we're talking the same language. Transcendentalism is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a small literary / fine art movement. It's definitely something for you, the viewer, to go check out. Go Google it. You'll, I think you won't be disappointed.
And that's where I like to be. So when I'm painting, I feel like I'm there, and it's my, it soothes me, gives me serenity.
Yeah. Do you find that so for me, I'll just say that it's the beach, that's sort of one with spirit, that one with nature, that I feel. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt that's got Aloha written all over it. There you go. the Hawaiian aloha spirit was something that grabbed me very early on when I first went there. And even before I went there, I just posted a live stream on my Instagram today. We were at the beach this morning, and it was like just listening and smelling the air and, like, you know, just the feel of everything. It was like that total zen. Is there like a specific element to nature, either maybe like a season, like is it more like a mountainous type of scene?
I do more mountainous scenes, but I do love the shore too. And fortunately, where I live, I can go either way. I can go to the shore and I can go to the mountains. I love the water. And I love what the water does for a painting composition too, when you get reflections in it. So that's what I'm usually drawn to. I have a lot of paintings of New Hampshire because my family went up there summers. So I love the mountains up there.
That is fantastic. My brother's up in Connecticut, and I know he and my nephew love to go skiing and ice skating a lot. And I usually look at him and it's like, it's way too cold for me. That's why I'm trying to go further south. I need Hawaii or palm trees, Florida, something like that. I'll take Southern Delaware to start. So we talked then about the Hudson River School. Are there any other, let's say, and you talked a lot about some of the French landscapists. Are there any other type of periods that either before, like going further back into antiquity and art history, or anything trending right now that's kind of got your eye and it is an influence? Anything else?
Well, I actually believe that there's an important role for art that expresses a political idea. So the art that is out there now that's making statements about either somebody's personal life or things like climate change or democracy or anything like that. That's got a really important role in our society, I believe. So I actually do another genre. I create digital abstracts with photography.
Oh, interesting.
So if I'm going to go down that road, I use that medium to express something I feel needs to be expressed. Sometimes it's just plain fun. I just doodle on the computer.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes I think everybody that is creative, and then everybody that seeks to use their creativity as their vocation. I want to be a full-time painter. I want to be a full-time sculptor, whatever it is. You have to have a separate release. Now, some people have multiple bodies of work. I fall into that category myself, but I'm also a musician. I've been playing music just as long as I've been drawing and painting. I play multi-instruments, and so that's like my other like release. So sometimes just having that other release, I have found personally, I don't know, maybe this is something that you would agree with, that one thing helps the other. If one thing is sort of stifling and sort of becomes stagnant, or you're not figuring something out, the other thing can kind of take over and just sort of put it into perspective for you.
I think that's true. And I think that one really basic area that has helped me with is the simple act of composing your piece. You know, what is the composition consisting of? What are the big shapes? What are those little shapes? What are the colors? Where is the eye moving through the piece? That sort of thing. And
yeah, like,
if you do
well, that's what's great about photography, because you can sit there, especially if you're old school like some of us that trained in dark rooms and did black and white to start, where you learn processes like burning and dodging, where you can figure out and say, like, you know, this is the value scale that I want to set up. I know that this is what I want to be my darkest dark, and this is my lightest light, but where does my range fall in the middle, right? I had a professor in college, and it's stuck in my head. I can hear Chuck Schmidt, I think I'll hear to my dying day, saying, God is in the gray, meaning anybody can make black and white. It's that value range of grayscale that takes true genius to be able to pull off. And photography is great for that, especially in the darkroom, at least.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's very true.
Well, that's fantastic. So as all the things that you've done so far in your career, is there any one thing that stands out as just this amazing accomplishment, this thing that you did and you can sort of hang the hat of your life on and say, man, I did that. I'm set. I'm good.
I had an adventure quite a few years ago, but it's kind of like the artist's dream come true, I think, for me anyway. I had an all expense paid trip to a private estate on a lake in Canada. And from there, I painted while I was on the estate and spent a couple of years creating about a dozen paintings for the family.
Oh,
So,
wow. That is
and
a dream.
and the estate was phenomenal. It was just absolutely gorgeous and a lot of fun. And, that's an adventure that I hope everybody gets to have. I really do. But that said, I think my greatest accomplishment is being able to live the life that I love. I love doing what I do.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
I would completely agree to that. The times of my professional life, from being a kid in your 20s to then, maturing and getting older as you grow, the times where I just didn't have enough time or things happen the way they do in life until I said I'm doing this full time. I was just so miserable. My wife, if she were standing here, would attest to just the absolute misery that it was to be with me while I wasn't able to be creative. I think when you have that and then you just say, I'm living that life. I'm going to figure it out. And that's just that. It's fantastic. That's an accomplishment. So again, if
yeah,
you're out there and you're younger and you're struggling through, first off, you're not alone. Don't ever think that you're alone. Anybody that you see that you maybe perceive as doing this, this life that you want to live, you may just be a little bit, let's say, a few steps behind them, so to speak, 2 steps behind, as the song goes, and you just got to figure it out. You will put your head to it, and you'll figure it out. By the way, we're just going to shout out to Aki. Hey, Aki, our president just signed on and waved. Hey, how you doing? So no, that's great. Those are, I would, probably to this day, I think I would agree to that for somebody asked me that question. So, of all the things that are going on right now in the art world, and there's a lot of things. I think you have everything from the banana peel on the wall, that infamous banana peel situation, to just looking at our show, The Realism on the Hudson. Again, the opening is this Sunday. Up in Beacon, New York at the Howland Cultural Center. If you can make it, if not, log on to here, our special Instagram Live, 2:00, log on. Of all the things going on, is there anything that you would change? Is there anything that you are not happy with that you would say, if I had the ability and the power, I would change this?
well, yes, but it wasn't my idea. And I think the country of Ireland is doing this. They are giving artists a monthly stipend to just be artists.
I was just in Ireland, and yes, they are. They're only doing it for 6 months,
Ah,
but even still, 6 months is someone's going to give you a stipend for 6 months. That's fantastic.
yeah, yeah. I think this is on our website. Just the struggle of juggling all kinds of different things all the time and trying to sell your work to make a living. It's tough, and art is really important to society. So if the society could support it better, I would like that.
I've said it to all of my friends. I would be the first person standing in line to vote if a president, he or she, came out and said, I'm going to give artists and musicians a stipend of 6 months. I would be the first person in line saying, you've got my vote.
I agree. I agree.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask people. And well before I ever had the thought of doing this Instagram Live thing with the American Artists Professional League, just in conversations, hanging out for beer at the bar, or out for coffee in the morning or dinner or lunch, whatever, just hanging out with other creative people. I've always asked this question for the last 20 years of my life. And I love asking this question to people because I just love to hear. I've had some doozies of answers that I would not expect from people to say. So if you could own any one piece of art throughout all of art history, just one piece, any one though, what would it be?
Oh boy. When I thought about this in advance, I'm going to tell them I got this question ahead of time and I can't come up with one.
It's tough, isn't it though? But I will tell you, I've heard some ones that came out of nowhere and I went, I was not expect that.
I think I could sit and look at Frederick Church's Niagara Falls forever. The one with the little rainbow in it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
There was a church painting. It's one of the two sister paintings. And forgive my ignorance, I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I should. There's one that's at Woodmere Art Museum in Chestnut Hill in Philly. And it doesn't have a rainbow, but has that cotton candy sky. I want to say it's a South American scene. I'm pretty sure Church, was it South America that he traveled to?
I think so,
I
yeah.
believe it was there. But anyway, it's one of those just vast landscapes where he's got that great zigzag composition that all of those French landscape painters, Lorraine and Poussin, did. And then that sky is that beautiful cotton candy sky. And I think about that painting a lot for me. And it's not the painting that I would want to own. I'm lucky enough that I got to see it when I volunteered there and worked there for the time that I did. But I use that compositional element so much in my seascapes, or at least it's like very present in my mind of trying to sort of put my take on something like that. So I think having a church may be I may be changing my answer to that. I feel like I change my answer like every other day.
And you know, I don't actually know if I would really want to own it, but it sure would be nice to look at it every single day.
Yeah, right. You have it's like your piece that maybe it's like in a gallery where you can go see it and not have to pay museum entrance fees or something like that.
Yeah.
So along the lines of that, this is kind of like my second favorite question to ask people. And I will preface it by saying I've always been a lover of history. I think in another lifetime, if I wasn't an artist, I would have been a history teacher or a historian or something like that. I don't know. So I love history and I love art history. So that they have this great molding, if you will, in me. If there was one person that you could have a conversation with from all of art history, and forget the language barrier, one person, who would that one person be?
Oh boy. Monet. I would love to speak to Monet.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's unpack that for a few seconds here. What's behind Claude Monet?
Secret colors. He has a way with color, and I want his formulas. And I've got the magic.
Especially at the end when he painted the rotunda, and he had cataracts and things like that. It's like, geez, to be able to paint that at the end of your life was just, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. That would be awesome to just try and unlock some of his amazing talent. Just find out how he did things.
I think a lot about some of those painters and artists from let's say prior to 1950, right? Because we have this great luxury of having these supercomputers in our pockets. We can take a picture or a video and then go back to your studio and you've got an instant reference image. But people that didn't have access to, because anybody had, I think you could say fairly safely that the majority of people, at least in the developed countries, had a camera or access to photographs that they could use as a reference. So if you wanted to paint landscapes, you could get an Ansel Adams print or a book for fairly inexpensive and you've got references. But let's say prior to that, before you had that, you really had to rely on the ability of your eyes and your mind to be able to process what you're seeing and to do it. And I think about that when I'm on the beach, just sitting there watching the waves pass by, thinking, boy, I'm lucky that I have a camera that can help me see this and slow it down and see that. So that would be fantastic to be able to say to someone like Monet, like, how did you figure this out with the world moving as fast as it does? How did you have that ability? That's crazy.
Yeah. And there was one thing I've always tucked in the back of my brain, and I share this with my painting students. That is, I believe he said that there is alizarin crimson in every sunset and in every sunrise. And I've explored that as much as I can, and I tend to go there. I use it. So it would be interesting things like that to hear what he has to say about different colors, different times of the day. How he juxtaposes colors too.
It's funny. I would love to be able to get some people that maybe didn't have the luxury of having some of the modern things that we have, the ability to go buy paint off the shelf where, you had to make your own paint. You had to buy your own pigments. You had to buy your own linseed oil and make your own paint, which is a laborious process. If you're out there watching this and you've never done it, certainly I implore you to try it. And you realize what these artists had to do as opposed to just buying something off the shelf. It's a different type of process. I'd love to be able to have someone like Vermeer with modern day abilities, as far as like go buy a canvas from a store and a brush and go paint, you know, to see like what else you could do. Talk about giving somebody a stipend. How many more Vermeers could we have in the world right now? How awesome would that be, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Although I still think here now that Vermeer was an alien. I don't think he was a human being, but that's just a story for another day. So we're kind of coming to the end of 30 minutes here, and I don't necessarily keep this for just 30 minutes, but I try to keep these, you know, somewhat kind of, you know, at a decent time frame, so people, you know, if you don't watch this live, if you watch it later, 30 minutes isn't too much of your time. So I try to keep this around there, but I have a few other questions. We're having a good time. I'm having a good time. I'm happy to kind of talk a little bit more. So we talked about, you know, who you'd have a conversation with, and we talked about, you know, the Hudson River School being a particular, you know, American time of art. Is there any other time period throughout, maybe not even Western art? You talked a lot about Asian-oriented landscapes. Is there any other particular like art moment in history or movement that, you know, maybe lesser known, maybe well known, that you would also kind of say like, you know, I'd like to be able to go there. I'd like to be able to go back in time and experience Paris in the 20s, or something like that. You know, I think about that Owen Wilson movie, Midnight in Paris, you know.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that very much. I think that one thing that I'd like to dive into is to look back at some of the illustrators that were American working artists that, you know, made a living, like Maxfield Parrish and Norman Rockwell and those folks, and find out what that was really like for them back then, you know, because they had to copy their work and do the same thing over and over again. And I wonder what that was like for them, because I don't have to do that. You know, I get to be original every time I want to be, but they didn't. They had to keep producing.
Yeah, that's certainly, again, it's certainly one of those things where if you could bring Rockwell into the 2020s and say, here's all the technology, you don't have to worry about drawing the same thing over and over again. You can reproduce an image fairly easily for not a lot of money. Here you go.
Yeah.
What else could we have? How much more time would he have had to do what else?
And maybe there were other things that he wanted to do and couldn't, because he was caught up in needing to crank out those magazine covers and what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll kind of have, I think maybe just one or two other questions here. So we're here on social media. We've talked kind of briefly a little bit about social media. Do you use social media in your art marketing or your art business side of things? And if you do, talk a little bit about that.
I do. I really need to get better at it, and I'm glad you've got me on Instagram, because it reminds me I need to post more things. I'm bad at it. I actually have 2 pages on Facebook, because way back when, a business page was too clunky and it just didn't do enough for you. So I titled one page on Facebook Art Page with my name, and the other one is my nickname, Kathy Curran Smits. So, and it's getting confusing. But yeah, I put my latest work up there. If I'm teaching a class, I'll post something about the class and that sort of thing to advertise.
Okay. So have you ever thought about using your Instagram as showing part of your process, not necessarily giving away the farm, so to speak, but saying like, you know, here's how I go about creating a painting? Is that something that you've ever thought about?
I never did. I didn't. But I'm noticing there's a lot more short reels on Instagram, and maybe that's a good thing to do. As a matter of fact, I just saw a friend of mine going out to paint. She kind of had a little video of herself going out to do a plein air session. And it was really fun to watch.
They are a lot of fun. I've found that those ones work really well. For me, they don't necessarily work that well, because I work in a much more analytical approach to, you know, I work the entire drawing. It's not exactly sort of fun. But I will say that most people, once they see the process and they can look through and see an image and watch the progress of the image being created, maybe one day I'll figure out how to do reels better. find a little bit of free time that I have to figure out video editing before I even get to Instagram, because I'm terrible at any of that. But yeah, I think that's actually something that's really fun. That kind of dovetails, in my opinion, with a lot of the positives of social media. I know it gets a ton of bad press, if you will, in the in the media world today, but I still think it's got a fantastic thing. Here we are having this live stream conversation. We're at two different parts of the country. We're not that far away, but still, I mean, it's a decent drive to get from Southern Delaware. Call it basically, I'm almost on the Maryland Virginia border, to all the way up into New England. I mean, that's a big. Just getting through New York City is enough, let alone getting past New York. So I still think it's an amazing thing that here we are having this conversation. You can show your art, you can show your process to people, and talk directly with either an appreciator, a client, a collector, another artist, maybe somebody younger that you can mentor. I just think that's fantastic, and you get to be able to do that. So there's your little boost, if you will, for posting more on social media.
Okay. Yeah, it's part of that networking thing. You have to do it. You have to take the time to do it.
That's it. All right, so I guess we'll just have one more question, and then we'll just kind of let you talk just a little bit about what you're doing going forward and where people can find you at. This is a question that Tina and I last week had a lot of fun with. This one. Have you ever created something that you'll never ever sell?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. Would you like to care to elaborate on that or not?
Maybe I could do it in general terms, but
Okay.
it was back in the very beginning of my painting career, and I saw a photograph that I just absolutely had to paint, but it wasn't mine.
Okay.
And so I finished the painting and realized I wrote to the photographer, and the photographer wanted too much money to give me permission to use it.
Interesting.
So I painted it anyway, and I still have it.
Well, if you don't sell it, then there's a very small amount of copyright infringement that legally speaking could be after, because anything that you find on the internet. So this is actually an interesting piece of information I just found out from a copyright lawyer. If the image is posted on the internet and you post it, regardless of how you post it, whatever size, if you put a watermark through it or anything like that, a person is allowed to save it onto their computer or their phone. What becomes copyright infringement is if they say it's theirs and try to reproduce it for money. Yeah. Right? So if you just have the image and you just decide to make a painting of it,
I think I'm in okay waters.
I think you're okay. So this has been a fun time talking. I'm finally glad that I get to meet another one of fellow new board members.
I'm glad to meet you too.
This is always a lot of fun for me. I feel like I'm the luckiest person that I get to every week talk to another artist and talk to them about their journey and their thoughts and their how they found their way to the American Artist professionally, whether they're on the board of directors or they're a member to the organization. So I'll let this part here for you. Talk to everybody about where they can see more of your work at, where they'll be able to see your next show, which your next show is about to be the opening at Realism on the Hudson.
Yes.
And then you said you teach as well. So just floor is yours. Tell people where they can see more about you and your work.
Okay. Let's see. My Facebook page is Art Page Kathleen, and you can find me by searching that. I am on Instagram, kathleen.curran.smits, and I promise I will do more posting. I teach a sketching class in the gallery with the Hudson River School painters at the New Britain Museum of American Art one Sunday a month. And so if you go to nbmaa.org, you'll find my classes offered there. I teach digital art at Manchester Community College. It's an intro to computer graphics if anybody in the area is interested. And there's some other venues. West Hartford Art League, I will be offering a beginning painting class there. WestHartfordArtLeague.org, I believe. And yes, my next show is Realism on the Hudson at the help me.
Howland Cultural Center in Beacon, New York.
Yes. And we're all looking forward to the Grand National Exhibition at the Salmagundi Club in November.
That's going to be a lot of fun. How did you enjoy the first round of jurying of that show?
I actually was on vacation, so I didn't get a chance to do it. So I'm very regretful that I missed it.
You know, all I'll say out there in closing to kind of just further that for just a moment is I absolutely despise jurying. I don't like being able to have to look at somebody's work with this sort of critical eye, if you will. You know, everybody is putting their best foot forward and working and creative, and I don't like I mean, I understand like it's a necessary evil. Everybody can't get into every single show. That'd be perfect. Everybody would get a 6-month stipend of, you know, being an artist. That'd be fantastic. But I will say it's such a tough show to jury. We have so many amazing entries that came into the show. So if your work's accepted, if your work's not accepted, please don't take it to heart. It's such a difficult thing to jury work. If you've never done it before, I'm not saying that I think you should. I'm just saying that it's such a tough thing to do when you're looking at, there was 1,000 images. I forget how many submissions there were.
When I did look, it was over 800.
It was 800, 1,000. I mean, once you're over a couple of hundred, you know, you're sitting there clicking through, and it's like, man, there's a lot to see, and there's so many good things. It's like, you know, for 800 images, I wish we could have all 800, you know, works into a show. But if you've never been to the Salmagundi Club, it's not, you know, the space is a decent sized space, but you're not going to fit 800 works into the space. It's just how that's going to work. So looking forward to seeing Realism on the Hudson, though. This Sunday, we're going to have a special Instagram live time at 2 o'clock. We're going to be live up there. I won't be physically there for all of you members, but some of our other board members are going to be there, and we're going to have a talk with I believe there's 3 of our other board members that are going to be there. I don't want to shout out anybody's name in case they decide I don't want to be on Instagram Live. Sorry, John. But we hope to see everybody there, whether the opening or closing receptions. And there's a ton of great work that's going to be there. I know you have a painting there. I have one of my paintings that's in that show there as well. And really excited to see everybody's work. And it's great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was really a lot of fun.
My pleasure. We'll see you guys all soon next Thursday, 5 o'clock. And this Sunday, too. We'll see you then.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.